Your glasses off. I can be conceited with my glasses off because I can't see myself. Lord Jesus, protect KJ, heal him, deliver him. Hasn't been on for over 10 days, if not longer. The last one was the 11th, this 4th of July. Praying for you. Anyway, this was, as usual, excellent. The last generation was, the lost generation was fantastic. So good. The whole size of the needless muddle was apparent. Evasions were of no use. Therefore, Dumois admitted that there was no way to correct the blunder but to send the army all the way back to Blois and let it get over again and come up on the other side this time, according to Joan's original plan. Any other girl, after winning such a triumph as this over a veteran soldier of old renown, might have exulted a little and been excusable for it, but Joan showed no disposition of this sort. She dropped a word or two of grief over the precious time that must be lost, and began at once to issue commands for the march back. She sorrowed to see her army go. She sorrowed to see her army go, for she had it in heart. For she said its heart was great and its enthusiasm high, and that with it at her back she did not fear to face all the might of England. All arrangements having been completed for the return of the main body of the army, she took the Bastard and La Hire and 1,000 men and went down to Orleans, where all the town was in a fever of impatience to have sight of her face. It was 8 in the evening when she and the troops rode in the Burgundy gate. You would say Burgundy? It's Burgundy. Burgundy. Burgundy gate, with the paladin preceding her with her standard. She was riding a white horse, and she carried in her hand the sacred sword of Firebois. She should have seen Orleans then. What a picture it was! Such black seas of people, such a starry firmament of torches, such roaring whirlwinds of welcome, such booming of bells and firing of cannon. It was as if the world was come to an end. Everywhere in the glare of the torches, one saw rank upon rank of upturned white faces, the mouths wide open, shouting, and the unchecked tears running down. Joan forgot her way through the solid masses. But she forgot. Joan forged her slow way through the solid masses. Joan forged. She didn't forget it. Her mailed form projecting above the pavement of heads like a silver statue. The people about her struggled along, gazing up at her through their tears with the rapt look of men and women who believe they are seeing one who is divine. And always her feet were being kissed by grateful folk, and such as failed of that privilege touched her horse and then kissed their fingers. Nothing that Joan did escaped notice. Everything she did was commented upon and applauded. You could hear the remarks going all the time. There, she's smiling. Yes. See? Now she's taking her little plumed cap off to somebody. Ah, it's fine and grateful. She's patting that woman on the head with her gauntlet. Oh, she was born on a horse. See her turn in her saddle and kiss the hilt of her sword to the ladies in the window that threw the flowers down. Now there's a poor woman. Now there's a poor woman lifting up a child. She kissed it. Oh, she's divine. What a dainty little figure it is, and what a lovely face, and such color and animation. Joan's slender long banner streaming backward had an accident. The fringe caught fire from a torch. She leaned forward and crushed the flame in her hand. She's not afraid of fire nor anything. They shouted and delivered a storm of admiring applause that made everything quake. She rode to the cathedral and gave thanks to God, and the people crammed the place and added their devotion to hers. Then she took up her march again and picked her slow way through the crowds and the wilderness of torches to the house of Jacques Boucher. treasure of the Duke of Orleans, where she was the guest of his wife as long as she stayed in the city, and have his young daughter for comrade and roommate. The delirium of the people went on the rest of the night, and with it the clamor of the joy bells and the welcoming cannon. Joan of Arc had stepped upon her stage at last and was ready to begin. The second part. It is chapter 14. She was ready, but must sit down and wait until there was an army to work with. Next morning, Saturday, April 30th, 1429, she set about inquiring after the messenger who carried her proclamation to the English from Blois, the one whom she had dictated at Poitiers. Here's a copy of it. It is a remarkable document for several reasons: for its matter-of-fact directness, for its high spirit and forcible diction, and for its naive confidence in her ability to achieve the prodigious task which she had laid upon herself, or which had been laid upon her, whichever you please. All through it you seem to see the pomps of war and hear the rumbles of the drums. In it Joan's warrior soul is revealed, and for the moment the soft little shepherdess has disappeared from your view. This untaught country damsel, unused to dictating anything at all to anybody, much less documents of state to kings and generals, poured out this procession of vigorous sentences as fluently as if this sort of work had been her trade from childhood. Jesus Maria, King of England, and you, Duke of Bedford, who call yourself Regent of France, William de la Pole, Earl of Suffolk, and you, Thomas Lord Scales, who style yourself Lieutenant of the said Bedford, do write to the King of Heaven. Render to the maid who is sent by God the keys of all the good towns you have taken and violated in France. She is sent hither by God to restore the blood royal. She is very ready to make peace if you will do her right by giving up France and paying for what you have held. And you archers, companions of war, nobles and otherwise, who are before the good city of Orleans, be gone into your own land in God's name, or expect news from the maid, who will shortly go to see you to your very great hurt. King of England, if you do not do so, I am chief of war, and wherever I shall find your people in France, I will drive them out, willing or not willing. And if they do not obey, I will slay them. But if they obey, I will have them mercy. I am come hither by God, the King of Heaven, body for body, to push you out of France, in spite of those who would work treason and mischief against the kingdom. Think not you shall ever hold the kingdom from the King of Heaven, the Son of the Blessed Mary. King Charles shall hold it, for God wills it so, and has revealed it to him by the maid. If you believe not the news sent by God through the maid, wherever we shall meet you, we will strike boldly and make such a noise as has not been in France these 1,000 years. Be sure that God can send more strength to the maid than you can bring to any assault against her and her good men at arms, and then we shall see who has the better right, the King of Heaven or you, Duke of Bedford. The maid prays you not to bring about your own destruction. If you do her right, you may yet go in her company, where the French shall do the finest deed that has ever been done in Christendom. And if you do not, you shall be reminded shortly of your great wrongs. In the closing sentence, she invites them to go on crusade with her to rescue the Holy Sepulchre. No answer has been returned to this proclamation, and the messenger himself had not come back. So now she sent her two heralds with a new letter warning the English to raise the siege and requiring them to restore that missing messenger. The heralds came back without him. All they brought was notice from the English to Joan that they would presently catch her and burn her if she did not clear out now while she had a chance, and, quote, go back to her proper trade of minding cows, unquote. She held her peace, only saying it was a pity that the English would persist in inviting present disaster and eventual destruction when she was, quote, doing all she could to get them out of the country with their lives still in their bodies. Presently she thought of an arrangement that might be acceptable and said to the herald, go back and say to Lord Talbot this from me. Come out of your Bastilles with your host, and I will come with mine. If I beat you, go in peace out of France. If you beat me, burn me according to your desire. I did not hear this, but Demois did and spoke of it. The challenge was refused. Sunday morning her voices or some instinct gave her a warning, and she sent Dubois to Blois to command the army to hurry it through Orleans. It was a wise move, for he found Regnault de Chartres and some more of the king's pet rascals there trying their best to disperse the army and crippling all the efforts of Joan's generals to head it to Orleans. They were a fine lot. They were a fine lot. Yes. They were a fine lot, these miscreants. They turned their attention to Dumas now, but he had balked Joan once, with unpleasant results to himself, and was not minded to meddle in that way again. He soon had the army moving.